How would you like to unlock one of the most incredible new sorceries? Oh, and a pure darkness katana that cannot be stopped. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of this quest that I am about to take you through. Now, where do we start again? I just can't put my finger on it. I'm sorry, I'll get on with it now. Hello then, my fellow tarnished fellow sorcerers, and fellow seekers of the deepest, darkest secrets in the realm of Shadow. Today, we are going to be going over a questline that is just ridiculous. The closest comparison I can give is think the Dark Moon Greatsword Rani questline ending in Astel of the base game. So it should go without saying that, yeah, there will be a lot of things that one might consider spoilers here, that of course it is impossible for me to convey this entire quest without showing you them. And of course there will be timestamps for every section, so you can pick and choose what you need and don't need, and avoid the things you don't want to see as best you can. The early stuff is fairly early and fairly safe and mundane, but the deeper this gets, and indeed the deeper into this video you get, the more ridiculous things you will see. That said, I will give you warnings towards that deeper end, so you can still follow this quest and experience the boss it unlocks blind for the first time. I will not just, slap it on screen, so don't worry there. Let's go over then everything you need to do, all the rewards you will get, and indeed some choices you will have to make along the way, and what I would recommend. Beginning then, we have to get to said beginning, which means arriving here, the Cathedral of Manus metyr. And in order to do that, we will be starting at this grace here. Morth Ruins, easily accessible and runnable to from however you get to Scadutree. And then from here we will be heading into Morth Ruins, where you are looking for a hole in the ground. It's not the big hole, it's the kind of little hidden one. Descend into its depths, follow the path/cave/ruins all the way through until you eventually reach a ladder, which you will then of course climb, because what else are you going to do with a ladder? And you will emerge at the Bonny Village. This is the grace for it, and before we continue on our journey, you need to make a detour here to get something very important, and it will be key to one of the end stages of this quest. So from this Bonny Village grace, you will be heading north over here. Easiest way to do this then, from the Bonny Village grace, is to immediately head nearly hard north and stick to the cliff and follow it along. The reason that we're doing that is so that you can make this trench jump easily and then continue onwards, and now you want to turn towards a little bit more east and you will eventually break free from the trees, and then you are looking for this statue right here. And from this lovely decapitated statue you will find yourself a gesture, the Oh Mother gesture, and as you can see, very much you will mimic its pose and lock this away, bank it in your memory because it's going to come up later. Alright, onwards with our travel to the cathedral. The path is super simple. From the Bonny Village grace, you just go through the village, across the bridge, and then this straight line, uninterrupted, smooth path all the way around, cross the water, and then end up in the cathedral itself in question. Once we get to the grace in the cathedral, open the iron gate and walk in and talk to Ymir on his chair. And as a heads up, I will be saying this again later, but if he's ever not sat on the chair, make sure that it is daytime and then he will be. He will tell you all sorts of stuff. You want to exhaust his dialogue. It is at this point that he will give you both a key item, this little finger whistly-esque object that will be coming in handy very soon. Other than that, you can buy some initial sorceries from him and not much else. Lastly then, the map he gives you is a finger ruin that he wants you to go to. Finger ruins are new little sites of interest in Shadow of the Erdtree, and this quest will take us round all of them. The first one he wants us to do then, and indeed the next step on our journey, is the Finger Ruins of Rhea. So let's get over Rhea over here real quick. I'm going to assume that, of course, if you're doing this much more later quest, you have at least reached the Cerulean Coast, so we will go from this grace. Follow my path, which will be a straight line shot down here, crossing over these tombs, moving across over the beach, heading up here, grabbing this grace along the cliff, down into the Finger Ruins itself, and then running straight until you actually reach this center point. Then, once you have arrived here with the key item that Ymir gave you, you can interact with this, shove your face into it, sounding it, and also giving yourself a new talisman that'll increase your healing from your flasks. Once you have done that, well, then simply head back to the monastery and report to Ymir on your success. He will now give you then a second map to the second Finger Ruins he wants to have us go shove our face into, and he will also give us a new talisman. This talisman then is fairly fantastic, at least in terms of its raw effect. What it will do is, well, speed up your cast by the utmost, to the point where you can't even use Radagon's icon at the same time, and it really is noticeably quicker. It comes at the cost of taking more damage, but it does let you use boss openings that you otherwise couldn't with certain sorceries, and I think will also catch people off guard in PvP. But before we go gallivanting off then, a couple things. Exhaust his dialogue optionally once again, and then you can buy a couple new sorceries from him. One of which being the spread shotgun of nails, which is actually really fantastic, and I do recommend it. Last thing to do in here then, before we leave again, is talk to the second NPC in the room. You might not even notice her yet, but at this point we do want to interact. She will be pleased that we have helped Ymir, got a reward from him, and she'll actually be a little bit warmer towards you. This is Jolan, and we will be dealing with her more later, but for now, just exhaust her dialogue until she has enough of you. Then we want to head to the second Finger Ruins, which are located over here on the right. Now, this is quite the turning point, and everything from this point onwards is very much later game, more complex, and generally harder, along with better rewards, so I want you to be warned. What we'll need to do then is go from the Cathedral, leave out the front door, follow this path all the way up to here, which will be an entrance to the Shadow Keep. The path to get to it is fairly simple. You will have got this grace on the way, and from the grace itself, you can see the tunnel entrance already into the cliffside, so a nice little walk across it, and once you go inside, follow it all the way along until you get a grace. This is the side entrance to the Legacy Dungeon, and don't worry, we don't need to kill any bosses, we are just passing through. This is the grace in question. From this church district entrance, what we will be doing is winding our way through until we unlock this hinterland grace and access to this whole green flowery zone. Now, bear with me because it's quite the complex route. I'm simply going to let you watch me do it so you can follow along as you need, and hopefully that will work for you. Welcome back then. Assuming that all went well, you will now have this, the Shadow Keep back gate. So, let's head to it. Now, you can step forward through there if you, let's say, enjoy pain, but what we care about is the room on the right here. Normally, this marker statue will be sealed, but this is the place for that gesture. Remember, we got it earlier. Oh, mother, it is timestamped if you missed it or accidentally skip it, so you can go back and look where that's from, near Bonnie Village, on the way to the Cathedral to begin with. But yes, this is where we want to actually get it used. And when you do use it, you will find that the statue rolls back to reveal this hidden passive behind it. From this hinterland grace then, we want to walk along, across this bridge, follow the path all the way down through the Finger Ruins until we eventually arrive at the center here. It is once again a fairly straightforward path. There is a lot of cool stuff in this area that I will keep unspoiled for you as it's not relevant to the quest, but I would certainly recommend having a look around. It's also a very, very beautiful zone. In any case, I will let the run play out, and then we'll shove our face in the finger hole. So, here we are then, arrived, and it is the Finger Ruins of Deo. So, what you want to do is pop your face in it, like we did last time, and, I guess, sound the finger. This will reward ourselves with another talisman, the FP cerulean equivalent of the last one, and then that is it, we are done. It is time to simply return back to the Cathedral and let Ymir know. Back in the Cathedral then, it's time to have another chat with Ymir, tell him you successfully found the second Finger Ruins, and that's all good. He will be, of course, very pleased, and then he will give you a third map. Now, this map is a lot stranger, because if you look at the map, it's essentially showing you the cathedral that we're stood in. You can now talk to him again and once more exhaust his dialogue until he's got nothing else to say to you, and then we're good there. You can also, and this is one of the most exciting parts, buy a brand new sorcery known as Fleeting Microcosm. This then needs 42 int and uses a hefty amount of FP, but I cannot stress how potent it is. It's got a fair range, summons an orb of pulsing gorgeousness that will explode twice, dealing hefty damage. Though, I should say, the second explosion is what deals the majority of the damage, but it is a very fast cast for how hard it hits and how easy it is to hit with, and honestly, it's one of my favorite new sorceries of the entire expansion, and I heartily recommend it. Before we solve the puzzle of the third map then, what we want to do is now have yet another chat with Jolan. She will be once again pleased that we have helped Ymir, and that's all well and good. Nothing crazy will happen with her yet, but do exhaust her dialogue, and of course you'll have noticed by this point she is holding the Sword of Night that we are very much going to relieve her of, let's say. Now, it is at this point that we want to do two things. You see, for me, that Ymir is not in his chair, but he might be for you. If he is not in his chair, then you simply want to go to the Grace and then use the past time function to make it night, and then he won't be. So where actually is he? Well, we want to pay him a visit in the graveyard that is to the right of Jolan. Just out here, when you get close, you will hear Ymir speak, and you will find him kneeling down, having a bit of a somber moment with, well, I'll leave it for you to discern the lore here, but it's quite messed up. In any case, you can have a little chat with him, and he will just simply ask you to respect his privacy, which is fair enough given the context. But do make sure to have a check-in, and also make note of that spot where he is, as it will come in handy later. Now then, we want to go back inside, and of course he's not sat on the chair, so what we want to do is go sit on the chair! No, we want to walk up to the chair and then examine it. Upon doing so, you will find that it's a secret trapdoor chair. That classic little maneuver, oh yes. And you will push it, slide it back. And this is where we're rapidly approaching the climax of this quest chain. So you want to head down the ladder, and lo and behold, you will find that the third map is accurate. The third finger ruins are indeed right underneath the cathedral, and here they are. Upon entering then, you will get invaded by Jolan's sister, another Dark Knight-esque figure, and she is using the Claws of Night, which, yes, you will get once you have beaten her. So, commence said beating of her, and you will get your reward. Now, at this point, don't continue all the way up to the actual finger. We want to go tell Jolan what happened here, given that, yes, it is her sister that invaded us. So, open back up your map and go back to the Cathedral Grace. And when we get back, she'll initially just tell you to leave, but now we can tell her that we are attacked by a Sword Hand of Night underground. And, of course, that does certainly alarm her. But she is too committed to Ymir for her sins, and indeed she won't do much about it, at least not yet, but it is important that we have let her know. So now we can head back to the throne, back underground, back into the third finger ruins, and this is where things really kick up a notch. Approach then the third and yes, final stick your face in hanging finger thing, and you'll notice, ominously, a America steak is waiting. This is your big spoiler warning. Once you sound this third and final hanging bell, you will be, let's say, attacked. Let's go with attacked, and it's incredible. It is a Remembrance Boss, and it's just fucking phenomenal, freaky a spectacle. I'm gonna stop describing it because I don't even want to spoil it with adjectives. So if you don't want to see it at all in any capacity, well then skip ahead, but I do warn you that it might be a little bit confusing what you then see in the ahead segment, because it only makes sense based on the boss. But essentially know that Ymir isn't going to be best pleased that you kill this boss, and he will react accordingly. So for everyone else that's still with us, yes, sound the bell, and we will be taken to an entirely different area. Welcome then to the Finger Zone. Very much vacuous ROM plus fingers feel for me. It's breathtaking. And here you will be faced then with an optional Remembrance Boss, metyr, the Mother of Fingers. And she is quite the challenge, quite potent, and a lot of fun. She literally just is a living finger, and it's very hard to fight a boss while also explaining the quest and what's going on. In any case, once you defeat her then, you return to the Cathedral, and upon doing so, you will get invaded by Jolan this time, and, well, that's unfortunate, but hey-oh, give her a quick little murder, she's not too difficult, and send her away. You don't get anything from her yet. Now, what you want to do is prepare yourself for a second fight, and indeed another boss. As once Jolan dies, Ymir will appear and attack you himself, newly reinvigorated as another Mother of Fingers. He is, of course, significantly easier than the boss you just fought, and is very staggerable, and generally you can just kind of blitz him down, but does have a couple of potent attacks if you let him, including a new sorcery you're about to get. In any case, defeat him, and you you will get his armor set alongside his bell bearing, in case you didn't buy any of the new sorceries while you could, and then also his staff, which, you guessed it, does increase the potency of the new finger sorceries, which is really nice to have it in your offhand and still cast with loose sets. Lovely bonuses. That's all well and good then. Post this, what you want to do is run out into the graveyard where he was kneeling, and there will be another item now on the floor, and this is another new sorcery for you, Cherishing Fingers, summoning a protective ring of fingers that damages as they come up, and it's a little bit freaky, though it is quite useful and potent, and I don't mind it. It's fairly quick to go off, and I find myself enjoying it, which I realize as a sentence talking about giant fingers suddenly appearing from underneath me is an interesting one. Now what you want to do is return to the Cathedral Grace, refresh the area, walk back in, and you will see Jolan against the same pillar, but now in a sort of dying way. And she will have a chat with you, and eventually you will have a choice. You either use an Iris of Grace. If you do this, you will get her as a Spirit Ash summon, or use the Iris of Occultation, and if you do this, you will get the Sword of Night Katana. I know, a really difficult choice, and of course I went with the latter, and it is a beautiful weapon. And if you don't have an Iris of Occultation yet, there is one in Fort Reprimand. In the main open courtyard, there is a chute you can jump down into, and end up in a kind of dark pile of bodies room where you'll get attacked by an omen killer. Kill him and he will give you one. And that's that all wrapped up then. What you get, when all's said and done, is Miriam's Vanishing, the singular glintstone nail, the glintstone nails, the fleeting microcosm, the cherishing fingers. They all function as thusly: the little teleport forward on the Vanishing, the single nail, which isn't too bad, the cluster of them, which is really good, the microcosm, which is absolutely phenomenal, and then finally the lovely defensive ring of the fingers, which is just hilarious. Then you get also the Sword of Night, which does have this witching hour slash. It's got some decent scaling when fully upgraded, and a little bit of magic damage and the bleed. If you just press it, you will do a little quick one, and then if you hold it, you will charge it up and do a much stronger one. It cannot be blocked, and it's just generally badass. We also get ourselves the armor set from Ymir and the maternal staff to boost finger sorcery, and then finally the beloved Stardust for that cast speed. So, all that's left is to look at the Remembrance rewards from the optional boss, and if you did skip it for spoilers, then also skip the next section for them too, and I'll see you at the end. Remembrance of the Mother of Fingers. The first reward, Staff of the Great Beyond, is incredible because yeah, it can cast both sorceries and incantations, making it the perfect weapon for a hybrid build, though technically you can staff in one hand and steel in the other, so it's not like it's strictly necessary, but at the same time it is very, very cool. Though when I last tested it, the scaling on it wasn't great, but I still need to do more so. Then we also get the Gazing Finger, a colossal weapon that is literally just her head. It's got a unique moveset, some big old slams, and its Ash of War is her big glowing lines on the floor that then explode attack, and it's stupid powerful. And there we have it, everybody. That was quite the adventure, was it not? Filled with incredible rewards of all kinds and an amazing boss. It really is a lovely storyline and one of my favorite things in the whole expansion, and I hope you enjoyed this guided tour from it and that it all made sense. For now then, I will see you very shortly. There is still more sorceries to be acquired, and I will be bringing them to you in post-haste. Like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.